Assalamu alaikum, I'm Aisha and you're watching Samaa News. Here are today's headlines. At least 20 people have been killed by a massive fire that tore through a 7-storey office building in central Jakarta. Firefighters pulled survivors out from upper floors and carried out bodies as search teams continued working inside. Officials say the blaze started on the first floor around midday, spreading quickly while many workers were on their lunch break. The Kremlin has pushed back at European claims that President Vladimir Putin wants to restore the Soviet Union or attack a NATO member. Dmitry Peskov called the allegations complete stupidity, saying Putin has long said restoring the USSR is impossible. His comments followed German Chancellor Friedrich Merz warning that Moscow aims to target NATO as Western leaders met Ukraine's president in London to discuss more military support. Ukraine is preparing to submit a revised peace plan to the White House, as President Volodymyr Zelenskyy firmly rejects any territorial concessions to Russia. Kyiv aims to offer alternatives to the United States, after Zelenskyy reiterated that surrendering land is off the table. He said during a press briefing with European and NATO leaders they have no legal right to do so under Ukrainian law, constitution, and international law. The Ukrainian president highlighted that any change in borders would require public approval via a referendum. The Vatican says Pope Leo has urged the continuation of dialogue aimed at securing a just and lasting peace in Ukraine. His remarks came during a meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy. The Pope expressed hope that ongoing diplomatic efforts will help deliver meaningful progress toward ending the conflict. Fighting between Thailand and Cambodia has now entered a second day, with both sides trading artillery fire and blaming each other for hitting civilian areas. Bangkok says its forces are carrying out planned operations and rejects any talks, putting July's US-brokered ceasefire at serious risk. Fresh clashes have erupted along multiple points of the border as evacuations continue. According to reports, more than 50,000 people have been displaced in Cambodian border towns alone in the past 2 days. A new securities filing reveals that Paramount Skydance's last-minute, hostile $108 billion bid for Warner Bros. Discovery was driven by what it saw as Warner Bros.' lack of responsiveness. The filing details months of outreach by Paramount CEO David Ellison to Warner Bros. CEO David Zaslav. Paramount says its initial bid in September was rejected, along with 2 subsequent offers that included improved terms. The US Supreme Court is set to hear arguments in a major Republican-led challenge to federal limits on coordinated campaign spending. The case involves Vice President J.D. Vance, whose 2022 Senate run is at the center of the dispute. Republican committees, and now the Trump administration, argue that coordinating spending between parties and candidates should be protected under the First Amendment. The court's decision could reshape how money flows through American elections. The International Monetary Fund has acknowledged Pakistan's recent economic stabilization efforts, while urging the country to accelerate key reforms. IMF Deputy Managing Director Nigel Clark emphasized the need for private sector-led growth, energy sector restructuring, and enhanced disaster resilience. Clark noted that Pakistan's reforms have helped stabilize the economy, with tight monetary policy playing a critical role in controlling inflation. Fiscal and external deficits are showing a downward trend, while GDP growth is expected to rise from 3% to 3.2% this year. The US Justice Department said that 2 Chinese men are in custody for allegedly smuggling Nvidia H100 and H200 chips to China, as President Donald Trump gave the green light for Nvidia to export its H200 chips to Beijing. Prosecutors allege that Fan Yue Gong, a Chinese citizen living in New York, and Ben Lin Yuan, a Canadian citizen from China, independently conspired with employees of a Hong Kong Hong-Kong-based logistics company and a China-based AI technology company to circumvent US export controls. In court documents, prosecutors said that Gong and his co-conspirators obtained the Nvidia chips through straw purchasers and intermediaries, and falsely claimed that the goods were for US customers or customers in third countries like Taiwan and Thailand. Japanese authorities have lifted tsunami warnings hours after a powerful 7.5 magnitude earthquake shook northeastern regions, injuring at least 30 people and forcing about 90,000 residents to evacuate their homes. The earthquake struck off the coast on Monday, and the Japan Meteorological Agency said a tsunami as high as 10 feet could hit the country's northeastern coast. Warnings were issued for the prefectures of Hokkaido, Aomori and Iwate, and tsunamis from 7 to 27 inches high were observed at several ports. By the early hours of Tuesday, the agency downgraded the warnings to advisories and later lifted all advisories. Global leaders have pledged $1.9 billion to advance polio eradication, accelerating efforts to protect 370 million children from polio each year amid significant funding cuts. The budget of the Global Polio Eradication Initiative, a partnership that includes the World Health Organization and the Gates Foundation, is expected to take a 30% cut in 2026 and has a funding gap of $1.7 billion up to 2029. The initiative's partners, in response, plan to focus more on surveillance and vaccination in areas with a high risk of polio transmission. That's all for now. For more updates, visit www.samaa.tv. Thank you for watching Samaa News.